On the day of sentencing for Brian, I get to the courthouse. It was the most unbelievable thing I'd ever seen.
So, I hope you all have heard about this new documentary that just came out called Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV. This details the Nickelodeon studio back in the early 2000s, late 90s even maybe, and some of the abuses and just horrifically evil things that went on there, and some of this bad stuff that happened to some of the child actors. Now, one of the, biggest pieces of this whole documentary is about this guy named Brian Peck. He was a dialogue coach, he was an actor a bit, he did a bunch of different things at Nickelodeon, and he was arrested back in 2004 for sexually abusing a minor. Now, no one ever knew who this was, because as a minor, your identity is protected in these court documents, and then it comes out in this new documentary that it was actually Drake Bell. Drake Bell being one of the more famous people to come out of this studio, obviously on Drake and Josh, very, very popular TV show, back in the early to mid 2000s. And I'm not going to detail here, that story, like of what happened, what this man did to Drake. I would highly recommend you go watch the documentary yourself. It's on HBO Max. 4-part series, very, very insightful. And it's just terrible, absolutely horrendous and horrific what this guy did. I'm not going to talk about that here, but it is detailed very clearly in the documentary with testimony from Drake himself. What I do want to talk about today is another part of it, of what happened to this guy after. What was his punishment? What was the effects, the consequences of what this guy did? And I'm going to show you a few clips from the episode 4 of this documentary, and then we'll talk about it. Take a look.
On the day of sentencing for Brian, I get to the courthouse. It was the most unbelievable thing I'd ever seen. His entire side of the courtroom was full. Full. There were definitely some recognizable faces on that side of the room. And my side was me, my mom, and my brother. Brian had been convicted, but getting all of this support from a lot of people in the industry, and yeah, I was pretty shocked. I wasn't going to address Brian. There was no reason to. I addressed my statement to everyone in the room. I looked at all of them, and I just said, "How dare you?"
We wanted to understand who in Hollywood was supporting Brian through this. So we petitioned the court to unseal the letters of support in this case. Letters of support are meant to influence the judge during the sentencing. In this case, most of them are asking the judge just to give Brian probation. These 41 letters have been kept under seal for 2 decades. Some are from family, some are from friends, some are from Hollywood insiders. You have the actor James Marsden. He writes in the letter, "I assure you, what Brian has been through in the last year is the suffering of 100 men." James Marsden writes that he's known Brian Peck for 14 years, since Marsden himself was a teenager. Taram Killam also wrote a letter of support. He writes, "I've seen the effects this situation has had on Brian, and I know for a fact that he regrets any mistakes made." Some other people who wrote letters of support include the famous sitcom dad, Alan Thicke, the X-Men producer, Tom DeSanto, Ron Melendez, another very well-known actor. Ryder Strong wrote a letter of support for Brian. And Will Friedle from Boy Meets World. We don't know exactly what these people were told about Brian's crimes before they wrote the letters. And we don't know which of these people, if any, were in the courtroom for Brian's sentencing. But these letters show how strong the support for Brian Peck was with people with industry connections. The director, Rich Carell, and the stage manager, Beth Carell, Rich says that it would be my pleasure to work with him again. In fact, Brian Peck does end up working with the Carells again on the Disney Channel show, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. It shows that there are not enough protections in place to keep even convicted sexual predators off of kids' TV shows.
Once you get past the obvious shocking statements of like the crimes and what took place, the most alarming thing to me is the way that this guy was defended by many popular, famous people in these Hollywood circles. How do you have so many prominent people writing letters to this judge on this guy's behalf? Some people that we know, James Marsden, right? Like, very famous actor. And then a lot of these people claim afterwards that, you know, oh, we didn't know, like, the exact details of the case. How are you writing a letter in defense of this guy to a judge in a court case without knowing the details of that case, right? So either you're claiming you're completely stupid or incompetent, or you're being deceptive. Or I guess the other thing that I can think of is, like, coercion of some kind, which, I mean, would you be that surprised? But how exactly would that work? How does this guy have that much power and influence over people? The worst part of this, I think, besides, you know, obviously the sexual abuse, is that this guy, his sentence, 16 months in prison, which is crazy, and then he registers as a sex offender, okay? But then he gets out of prison, and he gets another job on a Disney show with around kids. How? And, you know, to me, it's not that surprising, really, because, again, we go, this is a pattern that we've seen in Hollywood, these absolute weirdos. So it's not that surprising, but it kind of is, because you go, is this, it's hard to believe that that really happens. How does a guy go to prison for sexual abuse of a kid? He's on the registered sex offender list, and then he goes out and then gets a job working on a kid's show. Absolutely insane. And then Disney, I guess, or Variety, in this article that I was looking at here, claims that they've confirmed that as soon as they found out about this conviction, he was immediately terminated. Okay, I guess we have to believe that, but who the hell knows? It's just disgusting. It's despicable. All of these people that defended this guy in court, and then the fact that this guy, his career is not really that ruined after it. Like, he still went on to act. And, you know, he's not like a big famous actor, but he went on to act in small roles. He still had jobs on sets. He still worked around children. So who knows what other damage this guy did. One of my favorite parts of this documentary is when Drake Bell, he goes up to give his statement in the trial, and he goes, I'm not going to address Brian. I'm not going to address him directly. He instead addresses everyone that was in the courtroom defending Brian, and basically says, how dare you? You know, like, you're going to remember that you sat here and defended this pedophile. I'm going to remember what he did to me for the rest of your life. And that's a very, very courageous move. I really respect that on Drake Bell's part. But ultimately, I feel terrible for this dude. You know, he has had his own share of issues, his own, you know, problems with crime and convictions, and, you know, that doesn't excuse that, but I mean, this guy was messed up. I mean, imagine having, like, the best moment of your life, like, you're getting, all your dreams are coming true, and you're hitting every milestone, you're doing exactly what you've always dreamed of doing, and then it's marred by this sexual abuse. So I do feel bad for this guy. He's had a tough go of it. And I just hope he is, I wish the best for him. I hope he comes out and he can find some peace and happiness in his life. But yes, definitely recommend go watch this documentary. It's very important to watch this so that you can kind of understand. This is just a small little part of Hollywood, right? This is a kid's show. It makes it a bit more egregious, but, you know, don't be surprised that other stuff like this probably goes on, because this is not the first story that we've heard of this, of course, over, you know, let's just even say the past 20 to 30 years. But this is one of the more detailed, like, where they really get it and they talk to a lot of people that experience this stuff. So definitely go check out this documentary. It is called Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV on Max. And leave comments down below what you think about it. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. If you enjoyed this video, please like the video, subscribe to my channel. I will be continuing to cover news, politics, entertainment, religion, technology, anything that I find relevant or important. And again, thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.